This week, we just finished Rohatsu Sesshin. So it was a wonderful 7 days of intensive practice for the occasion of the Buddha's enlightenment. So quite week, quite intense week, and really full practice. So really great practice. And then we concluded yesterday morning with the ceremony honoring the Buddha's enlightenment, and filled up the whole zendo with lights. And I forgot to turn on the Buddha lights. Filled on the whole zendo with lights, in the front with lights. And it happened to coincide with the first day of Hanukkah. So we had extra lights. And, of course, we have the Advent season, and the winter solstice is coming. So it's this time of darkness and bringing light into the darkness. So in the Sandokai, it says, in the light there is darkness, and in the darkness there is light. Light and dark oppose one another like the front and back foot in walking. So sometimes we think that darkness is bad and light is good. Darkness is just darkness, and light is just light. And even in the blackest night, there's light. And even in the brightest day, there's dark. It's dark and light working together that allow this world to be. And the Sandokai darkness represents vast emptiness, leaving nothing out. And light represents the relative world, the world of things, the world of the stuff. And a lot of our focus this week in the space of the absolute, of great emptiness, of Sesshin, was focused on the details of life, the details of the Tenzo Kyokun, or the Tenzo, the details of the cook. So Dogen Zenji's teaching, Instructions for the Cook, is a really crucial teaching of Dogen. And we, this week at Sesshin, really had a chance to embody that practice as well. By everybody got the chance to be a cook, the tenzo, or at least the assistant to the tenzo. And so that's what I want to talk about today, is embodied practice, how our practice is when we really are really living it and really carrying out our practice through our bodies and the way that we act, the way that we interact, and the way that we bring our zazen practice into the stuff that we do, the work that we do, the interactions that we have with others, our life everywhere around us. The first of Uchiyama Rishi's commentary on the Tenzo Kyokun, or Instructions for the Cook. The name of his commentary is called From the Zen Kitchen to Enlighten Your Life. So that was our focus this week, how to cook our lives. Really beautiful, difficult, wonderful, detailed, spacious, focused practice. And I'd like to start with something that happened at my teacher's temple in Japan very early when I went back to work towards ordination. So we had there was a big event, I remember now, in the town. It's a time when all the temples in the town open up their doors and hang all of their precious scrolls and artwork for a day. And it's really wonderful. Like the whole walls are covered, not just in my teacher's temple, but His temple is on a little walking pilgrimage, like a pathway that goes from temple to temple to temple to temple. And there are a lot of temples along that pathway. And each of them hangs their special calligraphies and artwork on this day. And so we were preparing for this day and making the temple, really clean and spotless. And a layperson was in the kitchen cleaning up, just getting the kitchen finished from lunch. And my teacher went in and saw him working at the sink. And he was just finishing up, but he hadn't yet cleaned the sink. And what he saw was this person just really, throwing their whole body into cleaning the sink and scrubbing the sink very quickly, moving fast and leaving out nothing. The sink was spotless and he was working, really fast, and he was focused on the sink. And he was like, to me, my teacher said, wow, he really has the heart of a monk. And I've thought of that a lot of times since then. So what was my teacher seeing? What is the heart of a monk? For all of us, what is the heart of our practice? The heart of our practice is how we act, how we embody the teachings, holding nothing back, throwing ourselves into care for the temple, care for each other, care for the world around us. And last week I spoke about this a little bit when I was talking about way-seeking mind. The way-seeking mind of the Tenzo is actualized by rolling up your sleeves and getting busy. The temple is very busy. Sometimes people think that you go to the temple, you just sit, it's so peaceful there. Everything is just still and it's all going to be fine. But somebody has to make that go. And it takes a lot of work to make it go. And I think that's a lot of what we did together this week during Sesshin, not just the very still Zendo and the deep practice of the Zendo, but also making the temple go. All the details, the myriad details of making the temple go. Dogen says, carry out the work with your own hands. Carry out the work with your own hands. Put your undivided attention into the work. So when not just Tenzo, but I'll focus on that today, when we put our undivided attention into the work, we get to learn a lot about ourselves. And everybody else gets to learn a lot about us too. It's a very interconnected place. The Zendo here is quite small, so we can hear the Tenzo very easily. So the Tenzo must work quickly, diligently, leaving nothing out, and also very silently. It's a great opportunity for fully embodied practice. Yeah. So as I spoke about this week, Dogen's meeting with the Tenzo when he went from Japan to China it had a really deep impression on him. He met one Tenzo before he even got off the boat, and he invited that Tenzo for tea, and they talked, and he tried to convince him to stay longer. I think the Tenzo had walked 14 miles to buy mushrooms for a special ceremony and was just about to walk 14 miles back and didn't have time to stay. So this really made an impression on Dogen. He was like, can't other people do the work for you? And the Tenzo said, other people are not me. Other people are not me. This is such an important part of our practice. Nobody else can do your work for you. Not your teacher, not your family, not a book, not the Sangha. Only we can do our own work. Other people are not me. And if we are waiting for somebody else to do our work for us, we'll be waiting for a long time. Only we can do our own work. There's no magical words that the teacher will say during a lecture, during Doksan, during tea, that can do your work for you. And in this case, I mean your inner work. Then just a second, I see that this camera is maybe smudgy. As much as we want that, it's never going to happen. Only we can do our work. And it's definitely easy to see in the temple. Everybody has a job in the temple. And if we don't all do our job, our work, our own work, then the temple doesn't go. At my teacher's temple, I have all the jobs, really. And then, of course, when I'm not there, my teacher has all the jobs. So when I went there for ordination, and before that and after that to practice with my teacher, sometimes I would feel that those jobs were just, whoa, there's so much stuff to do. You know, I would go so fast all day long. I'd wake up at 3 and then immediately get up, do my stretches, brush my teeth, do the water offerings, make the incense offerings, put in the rice, all before the wake up bell, and then ring the wake up bell. And then people would come in and we just would go, go, go. And sometimes I would feel like, oh my goodness, there's a lot of work to do. Not sometimes, you know, all the time, but then I also, it gave me such an appreciation of all that my teacher had been doing without me there. And that me doing these things gave him the opportunity to teach me. So if he was doing all that stuff and I wasn't, then he wouldn't have had the time to teach me what I needed to learn. So then I began to change my view, or to see my view. Exactly, change it, because I was so excited to be there even from the beginning. But to understand, I'll say, that the work that I do benefited my own practice, not just in the doing of the work, because that is our practice, but also it's just such a deep and profound and beautiful thing to be able to offer to my teacher the help keeping the temple going. It really meant a lot to me to be able to offer my teacher. Once I learned to cook Japanese meals, I learned the basic, and he taught me. My Dharma sister taught me. I also learned in the training monasteries. Once I learned to cook them, then I really also learned how to adjust the flavors and the taste for the teacher there. So I learned to cook according to my teacher's taste, the things that he likes. And it gave me such, I won't say exactly pleasure, although that's like one component, such a feeling of deep satisfaction to be able to offer him the foods that made him feel good, and the foods that were both healthy and that he likes to eat. It's really such a a beautiful feeling when everything is in sync that way. This week, for Sesshin, we had somebody in the place of the Tenzo. Somebody was serving in the job of Tenzo, and they had to leave suddenly because of a death in the family. So then I had been teaching on instructions for the cook, instructions for the Tenzo, for everybody's benefit. And then I had to shift myself into being the Tenzo, in addition to leading the Sesshin. And at first I thought, oh my goodness, can I do this? Can I do this? Can I be the Tenzo in addition to also, preparing the talks and doing the Dogen? And as of course I can. And I thought of the examples of people before me who have made this offering. And then I thought of the ability to offer food to the people practicing so hard in Sesshin. The ability to offer delicious and nourishing food to them. And I just felt so full of joy and beauty at being able to make that offering. And then I thought of being able to offer to the people learning how to prepare the food, to offer them that ability too, to be able to teach them how to be in the body in our practice, to teach them how to make offerings of delicious food for the Sangha. Nourishing the Sangha is no small thing. It's a really important part of the practice. This is why the office of the Tenzo is considered the most important office in the temple under the abbot. Dogen Zenji says, a simple green has the power to become the practice of the Buddha. This is quite literal. Offering a simple green, just the most simple thing. Even if I go out into my yard in the spring and harvest some of the edible plants, weeds just growing in the yard, this simple green has the power to become the practice of the Buddha. Food enables us to practice. It's so important to have food, nourishing food, food that's not too heavy, not too light, food that feels satisfying to eat and in balance. This is how we take care of our body so that we can practice. And this is what we remembered yesterday in the Rohatsu ceremony, the Buddha's enlightenment ceremony, as we offered the rice porridge to the Buddha. We remembered when the Buddha was in the grove of ascetics practicing, by really trying to get beyond his body, practicing ascetic practices like, meditating on thorns or going without food and water. And he went for a long time without food, so much that his skin turned color. It turned into a dark color. And he realized when he was offered some rice porridge that he needed food in order to practice. He needed the body. This body that we're born with is not something we get rid of. This body allows us to practice. And so yesterday we made the offering to the Buddha of the rice porridge, the same that he had, that allowed him to become enlightened. And then we ourselves took a taste of the rice porridge. Food allows us to practice. The job of Tenzo is one of service to the community. It teaches us how to best serve others. Dogen tells us that our work as Tenzo coincides with the virtues of our character. And I guess that means really that we bring our practice to our work as Tenzo. It's so easy to see somebody's practice in the way that they approach the work of the temple, the jobs of the temple, especially in the kitchen. Our work as Tenzo coincides with the virtues of our character, of our practice, and we should really think only of how to best serve the community, not worrying about, not having enough, not worrying about praise or blame. I'm doing this really well. I am so great. Or I am the worst Tenzo ever. None of that is helpful at all to us as we are preparing the meal. Not worrying about receiving corrections. We can receive corrections or instruction with an attitude of gratitude. Whether we say it or not, thank you for helping me learn this. Or we can say it with a feeling of embarrassment or blame. Corrections help us to learn. So when we are in the kitchen and we're being taught, every correction allows us to practice more fully. I thought of my teacher a lot in this way too, and the way that he gives corrections. Most of the time very gently, but he always does it. And occasionally very, very firmly, especially when things could be dangerous or very crucial, or maybe he's told me the same thing many times and I haven't paid attention and haven't gotten it yet. Then he'll finally say, look, wake up. I've taught you this enough times. You should know this by now. So I felt that as I was cooking, and so much gratitude for that. Not worrying about our mistakes, but treating them as opportunities for growth. All of these are part of working with an attitude of service. When I was in my teacher's temple in the kitchen, and I prepare all the meals there for my teacher, the other monks who come, and sometimes lay people come in and practice periods of time, a few weeks or something like that. I had a mantra that went on in my head all the time, and it was, there's always more. And this is so true in the kitchen. I would think I'd be done with everything and have just enough time to go to the bath before evening zazen. Okay, I'm finally finished. I have done everything. I've cleaned the floor. The sink is done. The food is away. Everything is finished. And then I'd be like, oh, yeah, I forgot to take out the compost. There's always more. So I taught myself to this, always more. And it taught me that it could be open-ended. It also taught me that the work is never finished. That if we think we're done, there's always more. And of course, this is very aspect of our practice. If we think we have completed our learning, then there's no more room. There's always more to learn, always do, always more room to grow. In the kitchen, there's always more to do. Always. So will we get to it or not? We have to finish the things that are necessary and move on to the next task, knowing that there's always more. So where's necessary? Where's the line? That's part of the discernment of practice and the growth of practice. So we had this opportunity this week to practice Tenzo, the cook, to learn to make an offering of the food, an offering of service. with appreciation of care, leaving out nothing. Dogen says in the Tenzo Gyokun, again, the truth of life manifests itself in all places and all things, just as they are. And certainly the truth of our life, our practice, manifests itself through our diligent work, our offerings as Tenzo. Again, from Dogen, no matter where we are or what circumstances we're in, we're always living our own life. A fool views their own life as if it were somebody else's. A wise person realizes that even in encounters with others, we're living out our own life in those very encounters. We're living out our own life in our encounters with others, verbally, non-verbally, through our offering, through the service of making offerings of our practice, through food, through our interactions, through our silence in Zazen. On the second day that I was Tenzo, I decided to make an offering of a meal that I would have made for my teacher. And I don't know that I really decided, but I looked at the menu and I looked at the ingredients that needed to be cooked. You know, that's a big part of how we decide what to make, is what needs to be used, what is fresh. And I saw the ingredients, and all of those years of cooking Japanese meals just went click, click, click. Okay, so we're going to have this, we're going to have this, we're going to have this, we're going to have this. And I decided and threw myself into it and just made it. And what I found is that in the container of sesshin, it all came together beautifully. It all came together in a way that felt like an offering, not just to the people present at sesshin, but also an offering to my teacher. So when I drank the miso soup and I ate the miso soup that I had made, it was exactly the flavor that my teacher likes, with the right balance. My teacher likes a lot of miso in his miso soup, and that's how it was. And when we ate the spinach with black crushed ground up sesame seeds, it was exactly the balance of flavor that my teacher likes. And I remembered as I was preparing it, I was grinding the sesames, and I remembered I could hear his voice in my ear telling me, okay, after tasting it, you know, add just a little bit more meaty and then grind it. Don't grind it too hard, grind it gently. Grind it gently, just like that. And then I made that offering. And when I tasted it, it was exactly the taste that my teacher would like. And so in offering it forward to the community of practitioners here, I was also offering it backward to my teacher for his beautiful teachings to me. And this is how practice works. This is how we appreciate the ancestors, honor the ancestors, embody the practice as it is in this moment, and then offer the practice to others. This is the beauty of the cook, the tenzo. this very important job, this embodied practice, all of our embodied practice. If we can't embody the Zen that we're learning through the way that we act, the way that we serve the world around us, then we're not digesting, we're not using the teachings, we're not understanding things fully. So I encourage you to embrace the heart of a monk. Throw yourself into practice, roll up your sleeves, and do the work fully, wholeheartedly, with great joy, with great care, and with a spaciousness, just like the Tenzo. Thank you.